All right, for our next session, really happy to invite the one and only Ross Gerber and Gary Black for a chat about the Tesla stock. Come on up. And this session will be moderated by John Stringer, president of TOSV.
Welcome, everybody. Tesla Takeover.
What is up? I feel like this is the crowd, like at 10:30, it was like pretty dead. I think people hadn't had their coffee. But if anything will wake you up, it will be talking about Tesla investing. And who better than probably the two biggest in the community who have been fighting the fight for all time and eternity, really like since the beginning. So thank you, Ross and Gary. Do you want to take a seat? Get comfortable?
I'm a little excited right now to sit.
Okay, then never mind. So I guess we'll stand. Maybe Gary sits.
Gary and I are in different age groups. I hang out with Gary a lot because he makes me feel young, and although he is a good-looking guy, and together we're kind of unstoppable when we go out.
Pretty much. Well, dude, so first off, thank you, Ross. This is your second year. Thank you so much for coming. Actually, is this your third year?
Third, I think.
Third. What am I talking about? Yeah, so Ross, thank you so much for coming for your third year. Gary, thank you for coming for your first year. But I would just love to talk a little bit about, how have things changed now? We'll get into X, obviously, and the investment that happened a little bit last year. But what have you guys been seeing that's happening this year that's different than the previous years? Because in the previous years, I remember, it was like gloves off. I remember, Ross, you were just one of the biggest, and Gary, yourself, you guys are the two biggest Tesla bulls fighting the fight against the Gordon Johnsons and everyone else just putting out so much fake news. But how has the investing for Tesla community changed? How are things looking now?
Well, first of all, I want to just thank you for everything you do for the community, because actually I think we first met at a bar. I think you
in San Francisco.
Me to come, and I was like, I'm really busy, I'll come downstairs, and it was like 20 people, and I met you.
Yep.
And what you've grown since then is fucking amazing, And just this event in the last year, from last year to this year, it seems to have doubled in just quality and this is amazing. So thank you for what you're doing, because my main goal that I'm involved with this, besides making money, is about changing the behavior of humans so that we actually use an electric infrastructure in the future instead of oil and gas. And that's what this is ultimately all about. So to see what you've built with this event and what's happening and what we're going to talk about today, which is it's the tipping point now. It's the tipping point now, where now we're in a stage where everybody wants an EV, and can we make enough EVs that will fulfill the demand, and all the other auxiliary businesses around energy, solar, EV, charging, and software like full self-driving is all now becoming more important in the Tesla story than the Model Y, when that was really the Tesla story, because now they're making millions a year and it's not a challenge for them. So with the truck business now starting, along with batteries, full self-driving, and then you look at what's happening with charging, Tesla's next level is just beginning, and a lot of it is because of this community and really being the great advertising we are of the lifestyle of owning an electric vehicle, which is phenomenal. So this is really an exciting time, and I'm really grateful to be involved with this and with what you're doing, because my whole passion, as I said, is to really see the whole world go electric for a lot of reasons. And then I get to be with Gary.
Gary, so what are your thoughts? But yeah, no, thank you guys for just coming out. You being here is making this event happen, obviously, with buying tickets and coming out. So Ross, thank you for the shout out. Appreciate it.
So Tesla's made it, right? It's the 6th or 7th largest market cap company. So what everybody says to me is, okay, now what? What's going to happen from here? How does Tesla continue to grow, not even at 50%, but 30 to 35%, which is where a lot of us who try to forecast earnings think it's going to grow. And I think, how conversations I've had with investors have changed this year is, one, are there going to be additional price cuts that cause earnings estimates to go down again? Because remember what happened last year in the fourth quarter. Tesla stock went down 55% in the fourth quarter. NASDAQ was flat. People got worked up, obviously. Tesla stock went to 108. And, you know, when Elon talks about further price cuts, we're not talking about bringing out, well, we used to call a Model 2, but, you know, the $25,000 to $30,000 vehicle. Are we going to be bringing down Model 3 and Model Y further from where we are here? So that's a lot of the discussion I have. And then a lot of the discussion is all the new competition. It's not, you know, Nissan Leaf or Chevy Bolt. It's, you know, it is...
It's Rivian and Polestar.
Well, it's
nice cars.
It's Rivian, but it's also, you know, Mercedes EQS. And now that you really do have some competition that's pretty good out there, how is Tesla going to fare? So that's the kind of questions I'm getting. And I'm still very bullish. It's our second largest position in our ETF because we think Cybertruck is going to be huge this year. So I get a lot of questions about Cybertruck and the halo effect that new news to the category creates for the entire Tesla franchise. And we saw that in 2020 with Model Y. We're going to see the same thing with Cybertruck. People are going to see it rolling around on the streets, and they're going to go to the Tesla website and say, what is that? And they'll buy a Tesla Y.
So
or a
Gary,
Tesla
how much
X3.
impact do you think that's going to have? Because I think it's going to have a dramatic impact on Tesla next year once Cybertrucks are actually on the road and people see them. I think it'll be such a striking vehicle that it will act as an ad for Tesla, all vehicles and all products, just having one. I'm personally super excited to get a Cybertruck, you know, hopefully first, you know, early on, because, you know, I've really done this with every Tesla model, and it's super fun. Like when Model 3 came out, I had one of the first ones, and I remember driving around trying to find another Tesla Model 3 anywhere.
I remember
like
those days.
Anywhere in LA. And I would find one and I would chase the person down and then try to figure out how they got one. You know, it was like, oh, my husband works at Tesla or something like that. And to think now, you could literally get run over by a Tesla very easily if you're not paying attention in West Los Angeles because you can't hear them, you know? And I ride my bike and you're like, oh, you know, there's a Tesla again. You know, it's amazing the growth that we've seen in such a short period of time. So with Cybertruck, I think this is next level for Tesla and will really launch not just per se the stock, but the zeitgeist of the company again into the truck business in a hugely positive way.
You're making me nervous standing up like that.
Listen, you know,
He's too
I come from a
excited.
different, you know, I'm not a sit-down guy. You know,
Okay.
I'm in the, you know, entertainment business.
I feel weird sitting down with Ross standing, so I'm standing.
I got too much energy. I mean, I'm about to explode, you know?
Okay.
Like, I'm trying to make this the most exciting speaker you're going to have the entire time here, okay? And you should be excited because what's happening is super exciting. I mean, look at last year, if you remember what I said, if you were here, I was super pissed off because of the invasion of Ukraine by Putin's evil Nazi army, okay? And we talked about neutering our enemies through electric vehicles and getting off fossil fuels and how this not only affects our environment, but it actually affects human rights and well-being of our society, that literally the enemies of the world pay for their evil with oil. And every time somebody buys an electric vehicle, it neuters this power. Now we go 12 months forward. What's happened? Russia is in total collapse. And China doesn't know what to do. Their best friend is dead. And they don't know what to do. And every time somebody else buys another electric vehicle, it neuters their power even more. Iran, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has resorted to buying every athlete in America in the world they can buy just so people won't pay attention to their killing with oil. Okay? So this is having a dramatic impact on society now. And that's why I'm excited, because I actually hate Putin. Okay, I'm actually banned from Russia, to be honest. My family's been banned from Russia because we've been fighting. Yeah, we've been fighting this. I'm Jewish, so we've been doing this for a long time. Okay, and soon Putin will be dead. Okay, it's just a matter of time. And this is a massive win for America. Where does it start? It starts with getting off fossil fuels, and that's why I'm so excited right now, because we're actually winning. We're at the tipping point. Everybody in the world wants an electric vehicle. 20% of the vehicles purchased in the world outside of America were electric vehicles, 10% in America. But if you go into the truck country, which is like Texas and Orange County and here in the mid-central coast, where people have trucks, this is where we're going to make a huge impact next, is Cybertruck, Rivian trucks, Ford trucks, and a huge impact on climate. But what's happened is these right-wing people are adopting EVs now. It is the one good byproduct of Elon's new Twitter adventures. I swear I
Don't you
heard
mean
these
X?
people talking about it. The right-wingers were talking like, yeah, you used to talk shit about Tesla so much, now you bought one. And the other guy's like, yeah, I had to give in. And anyways, Elon likes DeSantis, so it's okay. You know, and I was like, great, buy a Tesla, dudes. You guys buy a Tesla. So now whether you're left or right, you can buy a Tesla and feel good about it, okay? It works great, okay? So this is a very exciting time when you see mass adoption of a new technology like the iPhone like 10 years ago. This is what's happening with EVs now. And so we sold 2 million, you know, over the last 12 months, let's say, or close to that. We're gonna get to 4 million. I mean, we will. So I think investors are in a great position long-term with this company. It's the number one position at my firm.
Yeah.
Gary might make it number one again, but for me, it's still number one. He's a Google guy. He likes Google. He doesn't use it, but he likes it.
Hey, it worked. Okay, so
It works. He's doing great. Don't worry.
Yeah, year to date, we're doing pretty good, Ross.
Listen, it's hard to keep up with a master, you know?
So let me go back to John's question. There's three positive things that are going to happen this year that's going to make Tesla go up even more. One is Cybertruck. It's the rolling billboard. People see it, they go to the website, and they buy something else. They don't have to buy a Cybertruck, but they get interested in EVs, or they get interested in Tesla, and they buy something else. That's what happened in 2020, and that's going to be the same thing that happens this year. And just so you know, pickups are 20% of the market. There's not going to be cannibalization. Remember when Model Y came out, a lot of people were worried about it cannibalizing Model 3. It never really cannibalized Model 3. Probably cannibalized Model X more than it did anything. But it was a huge increase for anybody who owned Tesla stock in 2020. Ross and I both did, others. It's up, what, sevenfold, because the volumes exploded and everybody anticipated that, except, of course, the bears. So that's point one. Point two, you got the Model 3 refresh, so-called Highland. That's why a lot of the factories are being shut down so they can get ready for the upgrade. That's going to be huge. That's 35% of Tesla volume. It's also new category news. And the third thing, and people think I'm more skeptical about this, I'm really not, is FSD at some point will reach level 4 autonomy, and that technology advance will sell more Teslas. Even if you don't believe that there's ever going to be a robo-taxi network, or if you don't believe that OEMs are going to license, the fact that they'll be able to have a car that literally drives itself will sell more Teslas. And those three things are the things that everybody's going to talk about for the next 12 months on Wall Street, and it's going to cause the bears on Tesla to look stupid again, just like they did in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, it was also, yeah. I like that. It was also, I think, the full self-driving thing that I think a lot of people wanted to see was the transferability. And when Elon offered everybody the ability to transfer from their old vehicles to the new vehicles, full self-driving, I think that was a big change for him mentally. Like, that was something I think a lot of people have been pounding on him about, and he's been very resistant to. But it's super important for people to feel they're getting value out of the software, and I think he realized that. And not to mention, he can sell a lot of new cars to Tesla owners that have kept their cars because they don't want to lose their full self-driving. Because when you do sell a used Tesla, you don't get the full value of the full self-driving. So I think him even giving away full self-driving for a month to people and just getting people to try it. When you're sitting in traffic, like all of us do a lot, this thing is like a game changer when you're driving. It's like, it changes the whole experience. Or when you're driving 75 on the highway for 50 or 70 or 150 miles, it just changes the road trip completely. And so many people just haven't tried it. And why? Because of cost. And so I think this is a huge opportunity for Tesla if they get to 25, 50% adoption of full self-driving and the revenue that comes associated with it. And he might have to like give a little away to get people trying it, but boy, that's going to be huge for Tesla long term when you look at margins.
So what would you say this year? Obviously, I mean, you guys cover stocks, obviously not just Tesla. You guys manage portfolios. And you guys have obviously been covering stocks in the markets for a long time. For Tesla to be operating at the insane efficiencies, to scale like they are, what is your experience in like how you've seen that with other companies, not necessarily just like, you know, competitors, but even other industries? Like, what is that, like, what do you observe that just like puts and differentiates this stock and really the company?
Well, for instance, we own Google, and Google has done very well this year. They had a great quarter. Advertising has come back. It's up 8% in the second quarter. And so people get excited about a stock like Google. They get excited about a stock like Apple. They get excited about stocks like Microsoft, although not this week. And, you know, Tesla has now joined that they call it the Amazing Seven. And, you know, people are comparing it, which is a good thing. I've not seen this since I've owned Tesla. When they're comparing it to the likes of Microsoft and Apple, and Amazon, which have much higher market caps, it means people are open to the idea that Tesla can get much, much bigger. And so I think investors, especially institutional investors, have always been a little bit, you know, they love Elon, genius, but they also think he's a little crazy, and he's a little bit unpredictable. And so people
like those normal geniuses.
Normal genius behavior. You know, Steve Jobs, same thing. You know, kind of in the middle, you know, brilliant, but, you know, had some crazy streaks. And so institutions have to get comfortable that there's a team behind Elon, and the brand can live past Elon. If Elon, you know, wherever, you know, go somewhere else, they have to get comfortable with the fact that the brand and the value of the brand is going to continue to live on. And I think the more Tesla can do, like Cybertruck, and we didn't talk about the $25,000 to $30,000 vehicle, which is really going to go into the masses. You know, because right now, if you think about Model 3, it starts at $40,000, and that's a fairly high-priced vehicle. To really get Tesla up to about 10 million vehicles per year, this year they'll do 1.8, you got to have a car that competes with Toyota Corolla and RAV4 and Camry, which, again, that would be $25,000 to $30,000. And the other thing that's really important is the $7,500 EV credit this year is a tax credit. You get it off your tax return. Next year it becomes an instant rebate, so you'll be able to take it right off the invoice. It goes into your financing. That's going to be huge, and people are underestimating how important that is. So to answer your question, I think, you know, Tesla is now joining that group of, we'll call it rarefied, mega cap, you know, $2 to $3 trillion potential market cap companies. And I think institutions are getting much more comfortable with the idea, but it's got to be more predictable than it's been. You know, nobody in that group. One of the reasons people own Apple is because it's fairly predictable, and that is not Tesla. Tesla's been a roller coaster, as you know.
They're like opposite companies.
Yeah, this year it's up 30%. But if you look at over the last year, it's actually down 10%, where NASDAQ's up 20%. So, you know, while we may not like the predictability of those companies, I think to get more institutions excited about it, it has to be a little bit more predictable than it's been going forward.
You know, and to expand on that a little bit too, a company like Google, you know, when you look at all the different businesses they've tried to get in over the last couple of years and failed, and then really what they've kind of, you know, gelled on is entertainment and providing entertainment services around YouTube and YouTube TV. But so many of their projects haven't worked out. And then you look at a company like Tesla and you say, okay, they've got megapack production, they've got full self-driving, they've got a charging business, let's say, and now a new truck business. And you start saying to yourself, and solar too, if one day that becomes profitable, and you start saying to yourself, well, this is a company that could have 5 businesses succeed, where Google is still really search. When you really look at their core revenue and business, it's advertising, that's Google. And so it is great that Tesla's being compared to these companies, because if I hear it compared to Ford, again, on television, it's like I go on TV and they're always like, well, Ford trades at a 3 PE and Tesla trades at a 73 PE. And I was like, did you look at the Ford's earnings report? I mean, it's like, they're not growing. And they make a lot of money, but they're not making it on EVs. It's a gas car company still, and it's real hard for them to transition. And then you look at Google and Microsoft. Now, Microsoft's doing a lot of great things that will help them grow in the future. But then you look at Tesla, and it's growing its top-line revenue by some absurdly high number, you know, and it's a mega cap. And it is on that level, and exactly what you're saying is true. The market's starting to finally realize that Tesla's part of the Magnificent Seven, and it's not a freaking auto company. So I was just looking at my schedule of investments for the annual report, and Tesla's listed under autos. And it's super annoying to me because it makes it look like I own a lot of auto companies. But I don't, you know, it's
You're
a
an
tech
auto
company.
expert.
I'm an auto expert. You know, I don't know anything about combustion engines. I only know, like, EVs, you know. But that said, I think for Tesla investors, people ask me this all the time, and I'm like, this is not a think about it stock. You just own it. There's no reason to think about it. It's like Apple. Google, these are core holdings that we own, and it's like Tesla's now in that club, and I think it's an amazing accomplishment.
But Ross brings up a good point. Investors do think of Tesla today, at least the ones I talk to, as a tech company. Nobody that I talk to thinks of it as a car company. Because if you think about Ford and GM, they trade at 6 to 7 PEs. Tesla, if you use next year's earnings, it's trading about 50 times. So what people have gotten accustomed to doing is saying, okay, how quickly is Tesla going to grow looking forward, not the past? And if EV adoption, which was about 10% last year, can get up to about 60% globally by 2030, that's 30% all by itself. That's before you think about any new product introductions, any kind of share gains that they get. Just EV adoption going from 10 to 60 gets you 30% growth. There is not a mega cap company out there that's growing their units at 30% per year. And so when people think about Tesla that I talk to, they always think about, okay, it's trading at 50 times, but it's growing at least 35% a year because they got Cybertruck coming, they got the $25,000 to $30,000 vehicle coming. There will be a Cybertruck too, right? They're going to get Cybertruck out there. It'll probably do 350 to 400,000 units a year. The street's looking for 150. So that's a huge delta. But then you're going to get a Cybertruck 2 at some point, which is going to be smaller and probably cheaper, and then it'll give it even some more legs. So you got another franchise coming. And so when you think about Tesla, you're always going to think about, yeah, it's trading at a higher multiple than Ford and GM, but it's got much higher growth, and that's why most people think of it as a tech company today, not a car company.
I mean, it's got way more growth than Microsoft, Google, and everybody else too. And it trades twice the forward PE multiple of Google. So you say, like, why would I pay twice as much for Tesla than Google? But then you look at what's Google's just hoping more advertisers advertise, and then Tesla's getting in business like charging. And I've been just fascinated with charging for months and months, and then all of a sudden all this stuff happened. And I was like, oh my God, this is huge. So those of you who know the auto industry, was when oil was created and autos and Ford and Rockefeller and all these people were building America 100 years ago, like they thought of this idea too, like we should own all the gas stations. And the government wouldn't let them, okay? And so there was this like separation between the businesses. Now, Linda Khan and the FTC haven't figured this out yet, okay? But Tesla has a monopoly on charging. All the other charging companies, unfortunately, suck. And so Tesla's experience is so superior when you go to a supercharger. It's like day and night from any other charging company, and their software and their app. And I'm like, how come these people can't do this? And it's just like, let alone just keep the chargers working. Like there's a reliability that we expect with superchargers that you don't expect with ChargePoint. And the reliability is 100%, okay? I pulled into a supercharger in Santa Barbara that day with Dan O'Dowd, and it wasn't working. And I thought Dan was going to be like, that supercharger's a scam too, And literally, I was like, why is my car not for real? And when I'm like, why is my car not charging? And out of nowhere, some Tesla dude walks up. He goes, we're fixing the supercharger network right now. It'll go online in 5 minutes. Please be patient. This thing's never down. I was like, this company is incredible. I was like, Dan, you see this? Okay, Exxon doesn't do this. Okay, so the charging business, when you supersize chargers to 50 stall stations, 100 stall stations, 50 cents a kilowatt hour when you're producing energy for 10 or 20 cents a kilowatt hour, and then you look at the margins, Elon said the margins are like 10%, but I think it'll grow over time. And then you now open it up and you have a subscription model for non-Tesla users, and you start looking at this charging business, forget the rest of Tesla. Just the charging business alone and what that opportunity is globally, it's massive. It's massive. So this is next level for Tesla. Cybertrucks, charging, megapacks. Why is the energy working in California during the hottest period of time in history? You guys know, you've lived in California, the grid goes down all the time. You know why it's not going down? Tesla. Now, Gavin's not going to say it, but it's the megapacks that they just put in are working amazingly well for the utilities, and we haven't had this problem. And we have plenty of hydroelectric power this year thanks to the rain. It's way more hydroelectric power than we've ever had, like in California history, And so renewable energy in battery packs is what's keeping the lights on right now in California. Right now. So when you look at the use case for megapacks for utilities across the world and you start extrapolating out what that business looks like, and we're the biggest producers of cells and batteries in the world, boy, that's an amazing business too. So Tesla next level for me has nothing to do with EVs. The EV business will be great. They've proven it. It will continue to be great. It's trucks, it's charging, it's full self-driving and mega packs. And that's really what Google doesn't have, what Microsoft might have in the future with Xbox and AI, but they're still building. So Tesla is the best positioned company in the world, and I'm sorry, I think it's a lot better than Google. And I like Google. I like Google. But it's no Tesla. Come on. Sergey's back at work. Sergey's back. He's like, I got to get to work. I've been retired for 5 years.
So obviously this is the Tesla takeover, but we obviously have to think about the other side. And obviously you guys have to, during earnings week and really throughout the weeks, you're standing up on these major agencies. So like, what would you say would be some of the shortcomings? What's the other side? Because yeah, we could be, you're preaching to the choir right now, but like, what's the other side of it? So we could maybe start with Gary, but like.
That's what preachers do, right? You preach to the choir.
Exactly. But yeah, what's the other side of it?
Did you stay in a tanning booth too long yesterday?
What? Did I what?
I asked Ross if he stayed in a tanning booth too long yesterday.
Gary's never been to the beach, but I live on the beach. And I was really curious what he was going to wear today, and he did well with jeans, and I'm sure he wore the jeans just because of me. But I was like, Gary, you need a hat. You're going to burn your head.
Okay.
I'm working on this stuff. He's from Chicago. It's not his fault.
Okay, so the shortcomings, people see my tweets, and look, I'm a Tesla bull, and when I argue shortcomings, it's constructive, and it's just the world I grew up with is institutional. People argue with each other all the time. So I think taking prices down in excess of cost of goods declines is not a good thing. And even though a lot of people get confused, Master Plan 1 was going from a Roadster to a Model S to a Model 3 to something cheaper. It's not taking Model Y, which can sell every single car it makes at a cheaper price. So that's the first thing people worry about. I think some people worry about the Elon brand. There was a survey that I think Bloomberg put out yesterday. They surveyed Model 3 owners. People love their Model 3s, but they're not so sure about Elon because his tweets have increasingly slanted to the right. And whether we like it or not, and thank you for that, whether we like it or not, his brand, the Elon Musk brand, is tied to Tesla. And so as we get into the election next year, I would hope he can stay more in the middle, more neutral. And I know he wants people to know what he feels, but it's good for the Tesla brand if he can neutralize his political views. I talk to advertisers all the time. They struggle with this. They struggle with that he does want to talk about, some right-wing stuff that they're just not comfortable with. I saw that he just put Kanye back on the platform, who's, very anti-Semitic. That's not good for Elon's brand. So the thing that a lot of people worry about is, will Elon keep pushing his brand to the right, even though the people who buy Teslas tend to over-index to the left? And that's a challenge. And then the competition, look, I don't think competition is really that good yet. I saw Kim Java's YouTube comparing Model X to the EQS, the Mercedes EQS. And yeah, it's luxurious, it's beautiful, it's got all those beautiful lights and things, but the technology's nowhere near it. So I think as long as they can keep innovating and they can keep pushing the technology forward quicker than everybody else, Tesla can stay in the lead. But those are the things that I worry about.
So Ross, we're going to give you 90 seconds to close this out, and then I'm going to close.
I
with
do a lot of
remarks.
90-second spots, so don't worry. But I'm also going to say we have a booth, Gerber Kawasaki. We're the only investment firm in America that allows you to buy Tesla overweight in your portfolio. And we do serve clients. Gary and I each have a fund. We're happy to buy Gary's fund as well. If you're a client, he's doing a phenomenal job with his clients as well. And I'm a big fan and try to learn from him as much as I can, to be honest. So we have a booth over there. I'll be there throughout the afternoon if you want to talk, you want to look at your financial situation, because there's so much opportunity that's being created because of Tesla outside of Tesla. And there's lots of ways to play it in clean energy and technology. So it's a really exciting time for investors, and we're starting to see that in the stock market. But as far as Tesla's shortcomings, the biggest thing that I see with risk with Tesla is less so about Elon and all these things that we know. he's chosen the route he's going to be. He's going to be Elon. I really see the risk being geopolitical because he's put himself in a very difficult situation trying to do business all over the world. So, like, for example, he's trying to open stuff in India, and there's just tremendous social issues in India, for example, with the Modi government and nationalism and things like that. And then you've got the issues in China, for example. So there's this huge risk out there of exposure that we do business all around the world, but the world has become a little bit Cold War-like since the invasion, and that puts a risk for Tesla that really is hard to quantify and you can't protect against. Like an accident between, let's say, a US airplane and a Chinese military plane, and we shoot one down or something like that. We just don't know. And so there are geopolitical risks that are very unique right now that hopefully will pass, but do expose Tesla to a certain amount of risk, seeing as that they do business in all these major markets. But I don't see it as a huge risk, because I do ultimately think China and the United States will end up becoming closer, not further away, over the next 3 to 5 years. That's what I think with the demise of Russia, especially, and the problems that are happening in China. So my belief is that we really just hope to keep the world in a safer, better place, and Tesla will succeed.
So on behalf of Tesla owners of Silicon Valley, the Tesla Takeover, even leadership between Kelvin and myself, we just want to thank both of you for all of the work that you've put in getting up in front of CNBC, Yahoo Finance, like everything, like over the years, just being like throwing a bunch of stuff. And Tesla has always been the underrated stock. Even with the Cybertruck coming out, it's very underrated. People don't think it's for Silicon Valley types, which is a complete joke. It's going to be a workhorse that people really don't get. And so I just want to say thank you. So let's give them a round of applause.
Thank all of you. Thank all of you. And we really appreciate all your
Ross,
support.
again,
Thank you, Gary.
Ross, again, has a booth, so you can pretty much see him all day. Gary will be running around as well, but they have both been huge pillars, especially in the finance world. So it's through them we were able to get through the ugly days of like 2018, 2019. So thank you again.
Yeah, we got more bears to kill.